Hello everybody and welcome to a special Saturday edition of the Chris Pritchard Cycling News Show. Now this news that you're about to see was pre-recorded yesterday. I was going to put it out yesterday because I presumed that yesterday was going to be a quiet, boring stage and there won't be much to talk about. How wrong was I? If you've not watched it already, go and check it out up there. That's yesterday's analysis of what was. A lot of people are saying it and I kind of question it a little bit, like, is this the best ever Tour de France stage? Certainly 2 minutes. Certainly the best stage of this year's Tour de France. So if you want to go and check it out, you can do there. But today I'm chatting to the Peloton brief, Laura Fletcher. We're going to be catching up on all the news that's been going off on the tour, as well as speaking to Nathan Haas, her better half, other half. I know, he's a good looking lad. Where we talk about one of the underdogs at this year's Tour de France, Guillaume. And Nathan believes that he is a good outside bet for a podium spot in Paris. Anyway, Laura, take it away. Is that a t-shirt?
No, it's a dress. And actually, we can talk about it.
Okay, let's talk about it.
So I actually pulled it out the other night because we're having a conversation about whether it's ever appropriate as an amateur cyclist to wear a team kit. And I said, only if it's the Castorama kit, which is my all-time favorite kit because, who wouldn't want to be dressed like Mario?
It's me,
exactly.
Mario.
With painter's overalls on, like, all the time. And I was like, I actually have a dress that looks like that. See, it's like one piece, totally fake, but it's basically the dress version of the Castorama kit. But speaking of, hilarious things that happen to old team kits, so there's this story that I unfortunately did confirm via Google search, which I really, really regret doing, to be honest, that years and years ago, the Gerolsteiner team kit got sold through some weird back channel. And it ended up at a gay porn production company, which then resulted in there being this Gerolsteiner kit cycling gay porn video where there were these dudes dressed in the team kit. I have no clue. Like, I cannot remember who told me this. And everybody that I'm like, did you tell me this? They completely deny it. But a quick Google search did indeed prove that it is true.
All right, so I can find that pretty easily.
You can find one or two screenshots that you're going to be like, oh dear. But the greatest stories of what one can do with old team kit, I would definitely say, is this Gerolsteiner story. So yeah, I believe the team or somebody may have tried to sue them after it. I don't really know. It's one of those great cycling stories that kind of never made it, out of the little bubble.
Surely any publicity is good publicity, and they would have been fine with that.
I mean, just keep that in mind if you ever think, I really think I want to wear this Gerolsteiner team jersey today. That there might be people in the world that have a very different viewpoint of that kit.
Who see that and think of you as a gay porn
might be an icon of some sort.
Wow, yeah. All right, well, we'll move on swiftly.
Okay.
Sorry. It's fine. No, I like it. The tour. While you've not been sleeping during the tour, is it the most boring tour ever, or is that just, am I expecting too much?
Yeah. I said the other day, some races are won and some races are simply not lost. And if you look at Froome at the Giro, what was 2-3 years ago, whenever that was, he won that race. He was like, I'm going on the attack and I'm going to win this race. I have the feeling that the Tour this year is a race that will just simply not be lost. And some people will lose and some people won't lose, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, yeah. So I guess the main talking points from this week of racing are Wout van Aert and his ability to be able to sit on the front and be a super domestique.
I know.
And then a day later become this out-and-out sprinter. What's all that about?
He's just incredible. I mean, I think that we've seen an incredible... I think that the Jumbo-Visma outfit is just simply one of the best development... I say development squad, not that it is a development squad, but the environment is clearly one that riders are truly and truly blossoming under. And, I look back to a year to George Bennett signed there. Sorry, I'm so bad with my dates. But, I remember George, when he wasn't renewed by Trek, what was it then? Leopard Trek, Radio Shack Leopard Trek. Ended up on Cannondale for a year before it was Garmin Cannondale. So it was Cannondale, Italy. on a 1-year contract and was like struggling to get a contract anywhere and ended up, at Jumbo-Visma or Lotto Jumbo, whatever it was called at the time. And we were all a bit like, well, that's going to be a weird one. And George was kind of like hanging on, right? And that team has taken him, somebody with a lot of raw talent, and refined how that talent is used. Yeah. So I think what they are incredibly good at is seeing talent, but especially seeing rough talent and working out how to refine it and to use it as best as possible. So.
Oh, that's pretty interesting, that. Yeah. So talking about Jumbo-Visma, there was rumours yesterday because we were expecting a few more fireworks than we actually got in yesterday's stage. So this was stage 6, which Zenko ended up winning, and the GC riders just all sat there, and everyone was happy to just go with the flow of Team Ineos. There was no need for anybody to really do anything from Jumbo-Visma, but there was talk that Jumbo-Visma was sat there and allowing Team Ineos to do that because Tom Dumoulin's probably not in the form that they expect him to be in.
It's a 3-week race. Firstly, I'll say that everybody does have some off days, and we'll see how Tom comes out in the Washington Times. He's a guy that does really well over 3 weeks. So maybe he gets stronger, maybe he cracks. This is a tour. This is what happens. Like I said, I feel like it's a race that's just simply not going to be lost. And when you've got all of your time bonuses gone to the breakaway riders, who's going to take the risk for nothing? Because if you put a dig in and you get a 1 second gap, you're only getting 1 second as opposed to winning and getting the time bonus where you get 10 seconds. So
Laura claimed this morning over text that you reckon that Guillaume Martin is the most underrated general classification rider riding the Tour de France right now.
I think that's clear. I think it seems almost funny to me that the media has, created this bubble where it's just Ineos v Jumbo. And, we even saw it with EF at the Dauphiné. The two other teams kind of like bullied each other out of being able to even finish the race. And then this sort of like underrated little champion comes through and wins the whole Dauphiné. Mm-hmm. But then he got a whole lot of media about it. But then I actually thought that the most consistent rider for that whole race was Guillaume. Yeah. And he's third. And, Guillaume's been 12th last year at the Tour riding for a smaller team. So it's not necessarily his first time at the front of a bike race, but it seems like he's on this whole other level. And he was the only one with the actual tenacity, balls, and legs to try to move in the final 2 days ago on the top of that hill that Roglic won.
Yep.
And, in the end, they just talk about Roglic and then talking about how Bernal looked like he was suffering and this and that. It's like, guys, obviously I sound biased right now because he's a teammate, but even just as a cycling fan, I'm looking at Guillaume thinking, this is the most panache-filled rider that we've seen sort of come out in the last few years. A guy like Alaphilippe's had that kind of zing from his first year as a professional. He was winning things like Flesh, and you're like, okay, well, it's clear that this guy's going to be incredible. But Guillaume has just been taking these slow baby steps to a point now where he's just sitting happily 4th on GC at the Tour de France, and it seems like no one's talking about him.
So what do you think is realistically achievable from him at this tour?
It's the Tour de France, man. You can't create ceilings, and you can't predict where the floor is.
Yeah.
But I personally think that the way he's racing and the way that he's moving in the peloton, he deserves the stage win.
I personally think that there's a good chance he'll have a Frenchman on the podium, and there's, it's nice that there's more contenders for it.
Rather than just Pinot
and Bardet. And I mean, Bardet also a rider that's not being talked about because originally he wasn't even planning on doing the Tour this year. And, so.
And do you think that the Rodlicks and Egan Bernals are looking at him and marking him, or how do you think they're seeing him?
Look, here's the thing. Having done quite a few Grand Tours, the first week is like a series of one-day races, and it's sort of an exciting sign to see who's going to form that top 10. But there's a lot of riders that can be in a top 10. But then to be in a top 5, we're looking at a pretty exclusive group of guys. But then to be an actual podium contender, these are the unicorns of cycling, and it can look as exciting as we would like it to look in that first week. And at the moment, it certainly is encouraging. But then again, that third week, especially on a Tour de France as arduous as this one, you just can't have a bad day. And that's what those unicorns define themselves as are the guys that don't have those bad days. You know, they might lose 20 seconds here, 30 seconds there, but they never have that day where they just sink 6 minutes. And I'm not saying that that will happen with Guillaume. I certainly, touch wood, hope that it doesn't. But
knocked on some wood.
It's probably, is this even
it's
real?
real
Is
wood.
it real wood?
Come on.
MDF is not real wood.
but you know, this is the thing about the Tour de France is the first week definitely exposes who we're going to see have the real last week of fun in terms of the yellow jersey. But to get on that final podium, it is a big step to go from 12th to 3rd. Not saying it's impossible, but I think the team's kind of not even modest expectation or hope going into the Tour de France was a top 10. And, you know, if a top 5 happened, that would kind of blow everyone's mind.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you know, I've seen crazier things happen. And if he slipped onto the podium in Paris, you know, not only would that be an incredible thing for Guillaume, but I think for Cofidis, that would be a huge moment in their very, very long history. And but I think more than a podium in Paris, the team is so hungry for a stage win. And, you know, they've gone to the Tour with Elia as their kind of highest chance of picking up a stage win. I think he's had a bit of a challenging year. You know, for sprinters, it's a lot about confidence. And when you don't race for 4 or 5 months, and then you only do a couple of races before the Tour de France without actually getting a win, you know, a few seconds, a few thirds, but not getting a win. I think confidence is a big part of sprinting. But then when you see Guillaume has already had a third, and then Jesus Herrada yesterday picked up a second.
And technically they had the polka dot jersey for 20 minutes.
Yeah, that was another kind of heartbreaking thing for the team. But, you know, they haven't won a Tour de France stage in 12 or 13 years. So for a French team that's been on the blocks now for 26, 27 years, to basically gone half of their running years without picking up a Tour de France stage, I think, you know, the biggest delight for the team would be to win. And then to pick up the, you know, the high GC, that's incredible. But it's a very hard project when you think about how many things can go wrong in 21 days.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Now, leave your comments down below and let us know what you think the chances are of seeing Guillaume Martin on that podium in Paris. I think he's got a good chance. Make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you've not done already. And of course, if you don't want any spoilers of this year's Tour de France, unclick that notification bell. But if you want to be the first to the videos, make sure you hit that notification bell. If you've disliked the video for whatever reason, hit that dislike button. Have a great weekend, and I will see you Monday with more Peloton Brief and hopefully more Nathan Haas.